surprises me. I would say there's very few things that surprise me in politics. I mean, Trump actually hurt that because I never saw him get an assassination tip the first time, nor the second time. Other than that, there's rarely things that actually surprise me in politics. It's just the way I am. Like I've been around long enough to see all these things work out. I know the tricks of the establishment. But Trump does shatter that for the most part. Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and then lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live special episode at 7 p.m. on a Sunday evening. We're going to do a couple of these so we end up with 100 shows this year. I don't know. There's no rule, guys, but I kind of feel like we should do 100 shows each year. We did it our first year, so we're going to do it our second year. So we're going to finish up with the 200th show, and that'll be the last week of December. Joining me, I'm so excited about this. Joining me for the first time in a long time, some call him the blonde Matt Walsh. I call him Mr. Straight-Laced himself. William Beck, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Jake. It's good to be back. I don't miss that drive, though. I feel like I'm the only good driver on the road coming to Roseville.
Yeah, but it's not bad on a Sunday night, right?
It was bad. I almost witnessed like 2 or 3 car accidents out there.
Oh, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
Drive safely out there, guys.
I'm reading the comments tonight. Whiskey Foxtrot says, let's get this party started.
That's right. Frosty
Girl says, got my glass of wine. I'm ready. Carol Hexam says, good evening. Han needs to go. Very true. Yeah. Excited to be with you guys tonight.
Okay. All right. Breaking a lot of this down with me is your guys' favorite, MAGA Jesse. What are we be talking about here?
Yeah, we got a lot to get into. I mean, there's some issues going on with some MNGOP races. We'll have a good interview with Bret Bussman, talk about this as well with our very own Liberty Longbeard. So lots of good stuff to get into here.
Run the dials as always, Mr. Deep State himself. Dawson's going to keep us on track. Are we broadcasting on Twitter tonight, right?
Man, I'm trying super hard to wrestle Twitter to the ground right now, but its back end is really stupid and dumb.
On Twitter, the back end is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm working really hard to make it.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll be up on Twitter. I want to get on Twitter.
So here might be the problem. You're trying to stream to Twitter. Should you try streaming to X instead?
You think so? But literally, the URL for the back end is Twitter.
Is that right?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's a slow thing. Yeah, I guess I'm not seeing it when I look on it. That's all right. We'll try to get it. I think we're on Facebook. We're on Rumble, obviously. Napkin Nate says Beck is back. That's so good. Let's effing go, right? All right. So let's just kind of set the stage. And first of all, for those that don't know, this show is sponsored by the great Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. That's your realtor too, isn't it? Now.
Yeah, he did a great job.
He's not only like a great realtor, but he's a great patriot. You can call Warren at 612-419-7453 if you're buying or you're selling a home. If you're buying a home, I think you also probably financed through John Galt Mortgage Company. How was your experience with those guys?
Really good. Well, I make all my decisions by watching The Truth Hurts, and I saw they sponsored the show, so I figured Warren Wessel, John Galt. If I ever need windows done, I suppose I know where to go for that, too.
Cabinetry, no windows. John Galt Mortgage. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. Windows. Well, we could get windows. I know a guy with Squeaky Squad, or was it Squeegee Squad? So if you need to clean your windows.
I did get it.
Hey, you just got a free sponsorship, I guess.
I did get it working on Twitter.
You did?
I have a fantastic screenshot of us having -1 viewer on Twitter. So
that's a new record right there.
I don't know how that happened, but we're good. Everything's working.
That's good. I'm kind of slowly appreciating Twitter. Okay, I'm still up in the air about it, but you know, there's some good in Twitter. It certainly got better when Elon Musk took over. There's no doubt about that, because before they would just censor people like us. All right, so also brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry. Not a window company, but for cabinetry up in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Also, before we get into this program, if you guys would like to go see Jordan B. Peterson at the Excel Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. He's going to be here January 27th. We're giving away front row seats to Jordan B. Peterson. I bet you're a Peterson fan, aren't you, Warren? Or Warren? William?
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, huge fan. This is the first I'm actually hearing about it. How do we get tickets?
TruthHurtsNews.com/JBP. Enter for your chance to win front row seats. They were the last ones. We scooped them up. I actually want those tickets, but I'm going to give them away. Okay? I'll go sit somewhere in the back for it. All right. The Republican Party of Minnesota in just a terrible shape right now. they haven't won a statewide election since 2006 in Minnesota. They have lost the legislature and haven't won it back since, let's see, they lost it in 2022. They did not win it back in 2024. I know you're watching these results. Trump wins. You're seeing Republicans take the U.S. House. They take the U.S. Senate. And somehow in Minnesota, we can't even win the Minnesota House. If we win the Minnesota House at this point, it's basically the Supreme Court saying, yeah, those 20 ballots in Shakopee throws out the whole election. It's a null and void election, and we'll have a temporary voided seat, and then that would give the Republicans a one-seat majority until an election occurs. So essentially, we didn't win the Minnesota House. The Senate wasn't up except for the fact that there was a special election. The Democrats won that seat. There wasn't a single congressional district flipped. The party has moved against the grassroots. We could go on and on about it, all under the not the leadership, I shouldn't say leadership, but the supervision of a guy named David Hann, a washed-up crony politician who is working against the grassroots. We've reported this on the show many times. Otter Tail County is the greatest example. He just threw out 200 delegates, duly elected delegates. So you would think with his pitiful record, he would just say, I am not the guy for the job. That would be what an honest, good person does, but of course, that's not David Hann, and so he's running again. Well, luckily, this go-around, there are a bunch of people running against him. And the party, which is in charge,
well, there were a bunch of people running against him.
That's a good point, Jesse.
But there's corrupt actors in place here who want to prevent that.
The party sends out a lot of fundraisers, and it's actually nice because we've been talking about these on the set. Here's the fundraiser from October. I wouldn't give a dime to the Republican Party of Minnesota. By the way, I would give a dime to the Republican Party if they actually went a different direction. Here it is. This is one from October. You see how this is urgent grant? By the way, all the things on here that they said they're going to do, what would be the metrics for success, they failed at, right? But by the way, they didn't talk about Royce White, but they said win the 10 electoral votes for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, failed. Win CD2 and CD3 for Joe Tayrab and Tad Jude, they failed. Number 3, win the special election in Senate District 45, they failed. Number 4, flip 4 of the 134 seats in the state house so they could take back control of the house. They failed. This is the metrics. David Hann himself. Yeah, David Hann, Chairman David Hann. Now, here's what's interesting. I didn't show this to you guys. This is the fundraiser in October. This is the fundraiser in December, late November. What's the difference here? All of a sudden, we got a picture from Chairman Hann. It's basically his re-election. Now, it's so utterly ridiculous. I mean, he's basically taking credit for Trump winning, which he had nothing to do with because, Minnesota did not go Trump. But it's like the legislature where they send out these, their legislative mailers. They can't do them 90 days before an election, but it's like, how great I am. Well, he's basically using the party resources, how great he is, which is really ridiculous, by the way. Oh, by the way, they're all, and Jesse talks about this all the time, they all want to attach themselves to Trump now, right? Because they know what works.
Yeah.
Is David Hann a Trump guy, Jesse?
No. No, the only time he's a Trump guy is when Trump is bringing in money for the party so that they're finally out of debt. That's the only reason David Hann would ever be a Donald Trump guy, because Donald Trump, of course, came to Minnesota, got us out of debt, got the party out of debt, and they've been wasting that money ever since.
We'll be trying to read your comments here today on Rumble, maybe on Twitter too. If you want to interrupt at the same time, hit that Rumble rant, and we'll read your comment. It's a great way to sponsor and help the show. Joining us today on Zoom is one of the candidates running to replace David Hann. His name is Bret Bussman. He was in the military, I think, at least 20 years. I wouldn't be shocked if Bret was in longer. Bret, tell us a little bit about your military career.
Yeah, hi, Jake. Thanks for having me. I was in a little over 20 years. I started out when I first enlisted, I was in the, an artillery person. And so after that, I only did that about 7 years of my career. And so I did a lot of other things too. I was a drill sergeant for 2.5 years at Fort Sill. But my last assignment was really really an important assignment. There was actually one artillery slot in Minnesota for an active duty guy, and so I was the Battalion S3 NCOIC for the training support battalion there in Arden Hills. That was a reserve unit, and so there was 13 active duty people there, and we had about 100 soldiers in the unit. They were all senior, E6 and above, and so our job was to go out and evaluate all the National Guard units and Army Reserve units, and then I had a database that I had to go in and put their percentages of readiness in there. So it was the readiness of the National Guard and Army Reserve in the state of Minnesota that my team was responsible for. So that was all the National Guard units. We got 87 counties and, about 12,000 soldiers all in. So I know what it takes to run a statewide organization successfully.
Bret, we've known each other for a couple of years now. I see you often in, making appearances in the grassroots. You actually got an endorsement for state senate, and then the party cut off access for you. And essentially, this was 2022? Cut off access, data access, even though you were an endorsed candidate. Didn't help you at all. Basically, you had taken out a incumbent Republican state senator, and then they helped him win in the primary. If I just focus on that, it could be, people could say, oh, this is just a selfish fight for him. I saw you selflessly drive west of where you live to go be with Otter Tail County people. We were up filming one day, listening to hundreds of people up in Otter Tail County about being disenfranchised. And here comes Bret Bussman in the door, helping out, pitching in to do that kind of stuff. It seems like, from my perspective, you're a grassroots conservative kind of guy.
Yes, sir, I am. The whole thing in Otter Tail, so my solution to that problem would have been, so if I was the chair, I would have took a group of people, probably a half a dozen people. I went up there that following Saturday, and I would have brought all the delegates in from each precinct. We would have met with the precinct, and we would have corrected paperwork, because that's what the MNGOP had said that was wrong. It was aired paperwork, and we couldn't really tell what was going on. Well, then let's get the people together and correct the paperwork and have the precinct chair sign it, which is the way it's supposed to be. Because I know the forms, the PCRC forms that came from the state, it had the convener was supposed to sign off on those, and that's against the law. It has to be the precinct chair.
Okay, so Bret, I wanted to start with your, time in the military, because it's like guy that's served 20 years, NCOIC, that's 3, in processing, both reservists and guardsmen. It's like you've been there, you've done stuff, right? You're not just some guy sat on the couch for 40 years. Also want to talk about, you're not just some guy that's been going to the Elephant Club and whining and dining, but never rolls up your sleeve. You actually go out there and do stuff, and to the point where you even became a candidate. That's not easy to do. So you decided you want to run for chair of the party. I assume you share some of the frustration we have. Obviously, not just the moves against the establishment and endorsed candidates, but also probably the fact that they can't win a damn race. How's that candidacy going? I've seen some fireworks here in the last couple of days. Why don't you explain what's going on?
Yeah, so 40 years ago when I was in the military, 1984, there was an incident that happened. And so on the application that we send in, you have to put all the times you've been arrested and all that kind of stuff. Well, 40 years ago, I didn't remember. At the time I was filling out the application, I just plain forgot to put it on there. I didn't realize it until Friday, about an hour and a half before my interview. It's like, oh, crap. This happened in 1984, and I'm going to have to tell them about it at my interview.
Okay, hold on. Let's stop. Interview with who?
With the nominations committee.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you're running for chair of the Republican Party of Minnesota. The election is by something called the State Central Delegation. It's a body of 300 some people. Is that right, Jesse?
350 people.
350 people. They convene probably at most 2 times a year. They are supposed to be kind of the inner group of delegates for the party, the Republican Party here. There is a delegation of people that go to a state convention just for election stuff, endorsing candidates. That's about 2,000 people. So this is a much smaller network. They're the ones that determine who becomes chair, and that is going to be determined next Saturday. the 14th of December. Oh, we got a Rumble rant here.
Yeah, we have a $5 Rumble rant from Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. This is a question for you, Bret. Bret, when you win, can you make David change tampons in the boys' bathrooms with his buddy Walls?
So let me tell you, as funny as that is, we really have to concentrate on unity. One of the things, one of the bad raps that A4L had is that they're bomb throwers, and you guys aren't. You're conservatives, and the party has really disenfranchised you guys, along with we have 12 affiliate groups for the MNGOP, and they're not feeling any love either.
Right,
so,
that's true.
Yeah.
But I don't need to make this about Action for Liberty. By the way, I'm not the president of Action for Liberty anymore. That's Eric Mortensen now. I'm moving on to this stuff, Truth Hurts show. But obviously, I still love Action for Liberty. Help them out. All right, so you're going to do an interview with the Nomcoms committee, and from my understanding is they found something in your past that they thought wasn't disclosed, and it held up the interview. So this is this Texas incident you're referring to?
Yeah, correct. So what happened is I was in the process of I separated from my wife, and she took my stuff and put it in a box, and because I was getting ready to deploy to Germany for a couple of weeks, and so she put the stuff in a box and didn't, she left the apartment. She didn't, and I wasn't living there either. So, if the cable company tried to contact me, that's something. That's what this all is about, is failure to return one of the old TV cable boxes. That's what this is about. And so
you're being held up from a nominations committee, which we're going to get into how this is used by the establishment to stop candidacies that the people they don't like. But the big holdup right now is you didn't disclose that 40 years ago you had a petty misdemeanor of not returning a cable box. Do I have that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So what happened since? So you were actually I forgot the story here. You were actually gonna get interviewed. I'm assuming by Zoom. Is that correct? How was this going down? And then what ended up happening?
Let me tell you how it transpired. So at 4:54 p.m., I had to look at my phone to make sure I had the right time. Aaron, the chair of that committee, called me and said, we have a problem. We found a problem with your what you reported as being, your convictions or arrests or whatever. And we'd like to discuss that. And then, so at first we're talking, and then their lawyer, so the chair said, our lawyer's here, and then the lawyer started talking. So they had already lawyered up.
And we're talking about Reed LeBeau, is that correct?
Yeah, I haven't had any correspondence.
Rondell Reed LeBeau. Rondell, that's his first name. We know this guy. He was the one that the party used to attack Action for Liberty with an erroneous campaign finance complaint. This guy's a real class act.
Yeah. So anyway, they read some report that said that it was a felony and it was a $20,000 fine. And so I said, no, you have your facts are wrong. It was a $20 or $200 fine, 180 days probation, and court costs. And so
from 40 years ago.
From 1984, yeah. So, but as well as I do, Jake, that I had to explain that to my chain of command.
Yeah.
Because I had a clearance.
40 years ago, you had to.
Yeah. If they would have found that I actually stole a cable box, they probably would have, kicked me out of the military.
Yeah.
So, I was 23 years old, and it's like I was in jail. And I was supposed to deploy to Germany the next day. So they go, we'll make you a deal. But anyway, so I went and got the cable box, and I called the detective and I said, hey, I got the cable box. What do you want me to do with it? And the detective said, well, bring it down to the police station. I said, oh, okay. So I did, and they arrested me.
Oh, geez.
It's absurd.
And so what was Aaron Ferris's response and the lawyer's response once you explained this clear misunderstanding that it was a nothing burger?
By the way, Aaron Ferris is the head of the nominations
And the
committee.
CD1 chair of the MNGOP.
Go ahead, Jesse. Say that one more time.
Yeah. So what was the response by Aaron Ferris and the lawyer once you had that conversation with them and let them know that this was a nothing burger?
Well, what they told me was that I need to that they would send me paperwork for release of information, so they could verify my story. And so I still, as of this minute, I still have not received any paperwork. But one thing about Texas is there's freedom of information when it comes to court documents and things like that. So what I did is I went to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, signed up, paid $6, and pulled the official report myself. So I have a copy of it, and says exactly what I said. So, but still, I just don't. Yeah. And so a snapshot, what I did is I took a screenshot of that information, and it was sent. And because they lawyered up, I had to get a lawyer, to protect myself. So my lawyer took care of that. He sent the information in, and we're waiting to hear back on when the interview is. Now interviews have to be concluded by the 10th. So that gives me 2 days. And I personally have not heard a peep from them.
Mm-hmm. And did they tell you that the interview was canceled? Did they tell you that you were not going to be having an interview with the nominations committee?
So like I said, they called me at 4:55, which is a little bit an hour before my interview. And they said that the interview was canceled for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say anything about postponed or delayed or anything like that. So, and the thing about it is the lawyer had said that he found out about it on Thursday. And so they waited until 5 minutes to 5, when they know a courthouse is closed at 5 p.m. To drop this bombshell on me.
So what do you think? What do you think is going to happen here? Do you think you'll still get an interview? Are they going to say there's reservations? I mean, where do you think this goes?
I'm hoping to get an interview and that I'm on the ballot. If they do it with reservations, I don't care.
This is what we are fearing right now.
Right, and also it should be said to start off with too that Bret, you got, I think I heard 40 signatures. You had to get 30 signatures to be listed as a candidate for MNGOP chair or for any party officer. So you went through the proper steps in order to become a recognized candidate and get the interview with the nominations committee. Is that all correct?
Yeah, I had 42, and I believe I did that on Wednesday. So I told my people to stop calling or to not call on Thanksgiving. And then, they did hard work. They got me 42 people. I was the second highest. So
if you're elected to this position, what is your vision for the party? What are you going to do that's going to change it? I mean, it's obviously in a really bad situation that everyone knew that the party was heavily in debt until Trump Trump single-handedly saved the party in one day, right? I mean, they were what? I'm forgetting already. Was it 700,000 in debt, 400K? It was an enormous amount, and Trump saved them. So at least that part is kind of in our past. I think so. Maybe not. But they haven't won in forever. They're moving against the grassroots. There's no unity in the party. What's your vision, Bret, if you were to get elected?
It's funny you say unity, because that's my number one thing. We got to focus on healing our current relationships, because we've disenfranchised the majority of the Republicans. 2 years ago, you guys know, 276,000 of them didn't vote. 250,000 Republicans did not vote because they were disenfranchised. So that means we got to do team building. We got to expand the voter and donor base. And I think we do that by using the precinct strategy. A couple of more things about unity is we all have to support our endorsed candidates. Okay, we can't have people, representatives or, other heavy donors putting in money to candidates who the people said they didn't want. When the people decide that they endorse a candidate, that's it, as far as I'm concerned. So we need to support our endorsed candidates. Right. And if you don't like who's doing it, then go to caucus and make a change.
Bret, you're not running for an open seat. You're running against the chair of the MNGOP, a guy that's been in it for basically 2 election cycles. So what do you see as the biggest leadership issues with David Hann?
Well, I mean, Jake, you know as well as I do that when the morale of an organization is the direct responsibility or reflection of the leader. So when we have all this discourse and we have letters from the GOP's lawyer threatening other Republicans with legal action if they use the name Republican, things like that, and getting rid of a caucus result because of a few clerical errors, so that's one thing. We got to have transparency. Everything needs to be in the open. That's why I posted my documents. Like I said, if you go to my website, bretformn.com, up in the upper right-hand corner, it says Texas Incident. If you want to know what exactly went on, click on that button. And if you still have questions, give me a call.
Why don't you pop that open here real quick, Dawson? I was just looking at right before we went live. So Bret really does have it on his website, and it's in the top right. It's a tab on the top of the website. Bret 4MN, Bret the number 4MN.com. There is Texas Incident. In 1984, to save my military career, I pled guilty for failing to timely return a TV cable box. It was a misdemeanor, $200 fine, and 100 days, 80 days probation. I have never been engaged in any criminal activity. There you go.
What's that PDF say there?
Looks like
that's the court. That's the court report. So it's all right there. People can look at it for themselves and decide for themselves. And that's the part about transparency. We got to be transparent. All the executive committee meetings, including financials, delegates need to be able to zoom in and watch that stuff. Now, there's stuff on those meetings, when you're talking about, personnel issues, you have to protect privacy there. But other than that, delegates should be able to log in and attend the Zoom meeting just, by listening to what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and on the point of transparency, I agree with you entirely. I'd like to see, these meetings filmed and whatnot, especially to give people, the honest truth of what's actually going on, because at State Central, there's a lot of corrupt things that happen that people just are unaware of. So my question for you, Bret, would you say that the nomination committee process for you has been corrupt so far? And in the mode of transparency, too, do you know who the other members are of the nominations committee besides Aaron Ferris?
No, I don't know who the other members are. And as far as, so there was things on the application that, because I used to be an HR manager for a pretty large corporation, and some of the questions on there that I would never ask.
Do we have those?
A candidate. And then another thing too is, by law, you cannot, if you're going to hire somebody and it requires a background check, you have to offer them a conditional offer of employment pending a background investigation. So the background investigation has to come after the fact. And if you look at the bylaws for the MNGOP, it lists that.
Do you think that the nominations committee has a double standard against you than they would have against someone like David Hann?
They closed it off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't sit in on that stuff, Jesse.
Okay.
I can't. I'm not. If I don't know something firsthand, if I don't see it, then I can't confirm anything like that.
Okay, and I know Aaron Ferris put out an email, saying some things about you and whatnot. I'm sure you're aware of it and have seen it. Is there anything from Aaron Ferris's email that you want to dispute?
Yeah, well, I don't have his email in front of me, but like I said, the lawyer made the accusation that they found something with a felony and a $20,000 fine. Mm-hmm. And my thing is if he's their lawyer and he didn't find out till Thursday, why was the committee notified on Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So the committee knew about it before the lawyer. So if the lawyer's pulling the reports, I don't see how that works. Did somebody else pull the report illegally? I don't know.
I've got this. This is actually really interesting. I think we've talked about it on the show, but maybe we haven't. Bret, this is what the MNGOP's requirements are to run for party officer this year. There's a couple that, I guess aren't that controversial. Like number 1 must be a year-round resident of Minnesota, must have attended a Republican caucus in Minnesota. But then they go on to a bunch of different ones that just makes you believe these were written to stop people. And some are, I don't even know who they're referring to, or maybe I do. I don't know. Number 4, must disclose all monetary or in-kind payments from any other organization involved in political activity or competing interests with the party while in office. It does say must authorize the nominations committee to complete a background check at whatever level deemed necessary, which you allude to is against their bylaws. Number 6, must file with and submit all petitions. Sorry, this is the petition ones. Number 7. Number 9, must not be provably soliciting for prostitution or other paid sexual activity of any nature. Can you confirm that was actually asked of you?
Yes, sir. That's actually, if you look on my website, that the whole thing's posted and how I answered everything.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. I was scrambling to find this, and that's right. You're Mr. Transparency. That's right. It's actually on your website. Let me find this. Actually, I almost wonder.
One caveat I will say to that is that because I became aware of the of that incident, or I remembered it, I wanted to resubmit my application and add that to it. So I've added that to it. And then I resubmitted it. And then so my lawyer sent it to their lawyer and,
you just said a resounding no on that, by the way, when I'm looking at your sheet. So
for what? The prostitution one?
Yeah, soliciting. But this is literally asked of MNGOP chair. Number 10. Must not have been part of previously filed legal challenges against the party. Must not be a part of active litigation against the party. Gee, I wonder who they're referring to on that one. Number 11, this is what we call the Winnie rule. Yeah, we did talk about this, at least on the post show. Number 11, must disclose any removal from any MNGOP elected position. Losing a re-election does not apply. I'm just going through my head. I'm like, oh, they really want to stop certain people. But this is all going to nominations committee, which is their attempt to actually try to stop a candidacy. That's what it seems like might be going on with you. I guess they got 2 days to make this right and do another interview. Did you have something, William?
Yeah, I had a couple comments if we wanted to go to them.
Yeah.
So we got some serious questions here for you, Bret. First from Napkin 8. Did he rewind all of his returned VHSs? That's a good question.
Did you? Be kind. Please rewind.
I couldn't afford to rent movies. I was a private at the time.
Fair enough. I got another one. God Save Our Republic asks, what about tearing off the tags off of his mattresses?
Did you tear off the tags on your mattresses, Bret?
Well, I think the consumer is actually authorized to do that. It's before you buy it. I think you can't take it off.
That is correct.
That's a good analysis.
You better go
Sounds like someone who ripped it off.
We got another a little bit more serious question here from Shogren Suze. Wonder if Nomcom asked Hann to disclose details about 1972-10. I suppose that's a good question for you, Bret. What's your take on that? And could you explain the issue a little bit for the viewers?
Yeah, so the MNGOP paid this 1972-10 group, I don't know, about $30,000 or $40,000 over a few months. Not really sure what for. I think it was for communications of some type. I don't know. But the thing about it is this company is not that old. It was formed in Wyoming, and in Wyoming, you don't have to disclose who the principal owners are. So, and I brought this up as a point of information at the state convention. I asked Lee Prinkle specifically, I said, who are the principals of the 1972-10 corporation and what do we pay them for? And he fumbled around a bit and then he said, oh, I'm going to have to get back to you. So that was never answered. But the thing is we shouldn't be doing business, and I would never do business with anybody who doesn't disclose who's running the organization.
Well, we obviously know that the people at running the GOP, which is David Hann and Tom Emmer. We know that they know exactly who they're paying. It's just that they don't disclose it to anyone. I have intel. I have a source. There's a leaker on the state exec that says the state executive committee doesn't even know They have asked David Hann. That's like 14 of the closest members of the party. And on that, David Hann wouldn't tell them, let alone Bret Bussman, just one of 350 state central delegates. So the other thing about this is the Star Tribune reached out to us. This is probably like 6 months ago, and they wanted to know what we knew about this 1972 10 group. And I told them the rumor that I thought it was, and they had heard a different rumor who it is, which is really interesting. So, yeah, David Hann is literally paying, you said $30,000 to $40,000, an organization in Wyoming that does not have a stated principle and won't tell the state executive members who's behind it. Who the hell are they paying?
Yeah. So one other thing about how do I put this? They stopped doing business with those people right after the convention.
Mm-hmm.
So again, let's just be honest about it. That's the best way to go. So
exactly. Well, Bret, people can go to bretformn.com. I just looked at it. Yeah, you're very transparent. You put your whole answers to the questions of prostitution and everything else on there. You're not suing the party, are you, Bret?
No,
okay,
I can't.
There you go.
I wouldn't do that until after the fact. No. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be able to resolve this. I'm sure they see that this is kind of a little thing, and maybe and we should be able to move forward.
I'm sure they'll do the right thing. All right, Bret. Thank you so much. People go to bretformn.com. MN.com. I don't know why I can't say that today. Take care, buddy.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right. Let me know when we got Tushy up. We're going to bring in a expert on the inside of the MNGOP workings, and a guy that knows State Central pretty well because he's probably been there for 10 years. Tushy and I were Ron Paulers back in the day. Back in the day when William Beck's mom was running point on the Ron Paul movement in Minnesota, and you were just a little squirt. You were like, let's see, this is 2012, so 12 years ago. And what are you, 24 now?
Possibly.
So you were a sixth grader, a little sixth grader. I still remember your mom telling us, oh, my son wants to be a legislative aide or something like that, or a page. He wants to do an internship up there. And she was honored but depressed a little bit that young William was actually moving in the direction of, established politics, where she's moving further and further away. But we have a lot of respect for your mom, by the way. I think, speaking of Tushy and the Ron Paul people, is like we've been fighting against this kind of corruption for a long time. Mm-hmm. Your mom saw it at the largest stage, by the way, in the RNC convention 2012, where, listen, Ron Paul wasn't going to win. He wasn't going to win the nomination by the GOP, but he had 5 states. They could have allowed that to be counted, but no. They had to roll out the red carpet for one Willard Romney.
Willard.
What's that?
Willard.
Willard? What did I say?
Williard.
Williard?
Yeah.
It's hard to hear myself in these things. Willard Romney, otherwise known as Mittens. And, they basically just washed over all the objections on the floor. This was actually John Boehner. I don't know if that video is still available. It's something to watch. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting thing. But this happens all the time in the political parties. And the reason it matters, I know a lot of people that aren't involved too much in politics can just say, oh, well, look at the parties fighting each other. It is what it is. The reason this matters so much is, the future of our country is going to most likely, and I'm hoping because, if it's not done this way, it's going to be done by sword or by the end of a gun. But mostly politics can be decided by who gets elected. And when it comes to elections, there really is there's a monopoly by the two-party system. I mean, the Republicans and Democrats have a monopoly on ballot access. It just is that way. Minnesota's better than a lot of other states, but it's still like if you want to run in another party, you have to gather signatures to get on a ballot. And Minnesota, Republicans and Democrats always get that ballot access. So the power center when it comes to election politics will always be around the parties, just the way it's going to be. And the other thing that's interesting about it is parties actually they're like this special kind of corporation that get these special powers that they can actually work with candidates. There's this prohibition of corporations working with candidates, except for when you're a political party. And by the way, they'll always say it's a private organization. But is it a private organization when you're a specially designated corporation, when you actually have laws that say you must throw a caucus every 2 years,
Right.
and then you must go through and have a convention? Is it really a private organization when the government mandates that stuff? It's kind of a quasi-government agency. In the end of the day.
And the courts stay out of a lot of the party business too. If there's something that goes on, they say, well, the parties are a private organization. They can do as they want. So, yeah, I mean, they use that logic whenever it's beneficial to the establishment.
Exactly. Let's go to some comments here, William.
We got a good question from TruthSeeker0450, who asks, will Emmer support any other candidate besides Hann? Will he still give donations to the GOP?
If he can control them, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, Hann is a weak guy, so it's like that's why they like him, you know?
Well, and speaking of Emmer, and I also saw a comment about Walter Hudson, and since we're talking about the nominations committee, I mean, we should point out the corrupt CD6 nominations committee was the one that found Chris Corey unqualified, so that he wasn't allowed to speak, so that he wasn't allowed to even address the convention floor. Walter Hudson was the one who went to the microphone, used his political capital to support censorship. He was the one who said that Chris Corey should not be allowed to speak. He was the one who wanted Tom Emmer to be ushered in unanimously and without any competition. He used the nominations committee as the justification for that. And that's what the establishment does. They want to have this nominations committee to keep you out, to keep the grassroots out of position so that they can have their hand-selected choices be the only ones who are deemed qualified. They tried to pull the stunt at the state convention to find Royce White qualified with reservations. The delegates saw through it, and they said, if you're going to try to do that on us, if you're going to try to tilt the scale, he won it in the first ballot because of that. I think that when the party pushes that kind of stuff, a lot of people see through it. I have very little doubt in my mind that this nominations committee for the state central is corrupt. I think that Aaron Ferris is obviously in the tank for David Hann, and I think that Bret is getting the short end of the stick. I like his optimism, but I also get the feeling that maybe he won't get an interview. Maybe he will not be able to be nominated at the convention. They might have to have a floor fight in order to have that happen, because obviously the establishment is not going to want someone like Bret Bussman as the chair, because Bret is saying he supports the endorsement. The establishment supports the endorsement when the establishment wins the endorsement.
Yeah, they love it.
They don't support the endorsing process as a whole. The nominations committee is a corrupt process. I think that it probably should be non-existent. I don't think that it's really up to a small body to make those decisions. I think it's up to the delegates to make that decision for themselves. People can, reason for themselves. We don't need a nominations committee deciding what people can and can't hear. I saw a comment about Walter Hudson saying, it's a conflict of interest that, he would try to even run for a party officer position and whatnot, which he was going to for a little while. That's a major conflict of interest, and he is a part of the problem. Walter Hudson is worse than the establishment in some cases, because he pretends like he's your friend. He pretends like he's on your side. He pretends like he's a liberty warrior. And then what does he do? He endorses David Hann and Kip. So that's Walter Hudson for you. He's a guy that will use and benefit the establishment, and he's not fighting for you. He's not fighting for the grassroots. Well, he's fighting to make sure that he continues to get his paycheck.
Hold on, Walter told me
I would almost like to know if Bret Bussman and some of these other candidates, the very first thing that a chair candidate should do as soon as they get into power, fire Walter Hudson. It's true.
What were you saying? You said Walter said the establishment isn't real?
Oh, Walter has assured all of us that the establishment's not real.
That was a tweet or something, and we were at an event.
He's made the point multiple times in multiple
he said it on
venues.
the show, didn't he? I could have
No, because on the show
he brought up.
I think,
Sorry,
he
real
skirted
quick.
around
This
it.
is a good comment. Amy Stevens says Hudson also endorsed Ron Krisha.
Exactly,
Which I
yep.
can't forget.
Yep. And he also made AI memes illegal. So the next time you see someone going to prison because of an artificial intelligence meme, thank Walter Hudson.
William, we were at an event in SD41, and Walter was speaking, and from the stage, he literally says, the establishment, and we both look at each other like, oh my God, like, say one thing there, say another thing another place. Oh, man, yeah, like Walter's always made bad decisions when it comes to the people. And he's always been good on the issues until this AI thing. Actually, I don't know, maybe he's been bad on other things. But, Yeah, he was always bad on people. Like he would. I mean, he likes.
Well,
Tom
he made
Emmer.
all kinds of excuses for the bonding bill. He was.
Did he vote for the bonding
He
bill?
did not vote for the bonding
Oh.
bill, but he said that he was considering voting for it.
Really?
And he said, there's all these Republicans who are having these problems with it. I can understand why people are voting for it. He was giving cover for the people who did vote for it. So that's just as bad as voting for it. He's playing cover for the rhinos.
Do we not have Tushy on yet?
He hasn't shown up yet.
What the hell, Tushy? Where are you, buddy? I wanted your insight here. Jeez.
We got a
Late when he's in person, late when he's on Zoom.
we got a comment from failed candidate who says send Walter back to the delivery service he came from. Marti 1967 says that's because he is part of the establishment, William.
But the establishment doesn't exist.
Right, I don't understand. The establishment doesn't exist. Doesn't make sense.
Listen,
to me
this is where I
whatsoever.
can't be with these people. And it's like you're supporting Tom Emmer. Tom Emmer is. I don't even want to say Tom Emmer really has beliefs because Tom doesn't. Tom is a chameleon.
Right.
He's a political survivor. He's actually what we really don't like. In some regards, give me a Bernie Sanders, does he really believe in communism? I don't know.
No, he's not even genuine either.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He owns too many houses to be a real true Marxist. But you know what I'm saying? Give me someone that actually believes in something, then I know where they're coming from. But Tom Emmer's a freaking chameleon. What I have to judge him by is not only is he voting for giving our money to Ukraine, which is a quagmire, you're a freaking neocon, Tom Emmer, but you're also whipping votes for that. And I'm not talking about, and I don't really forgive the people that voted for Ukraine the first time, honestly. If you ever said, I'm going to give a dime of our money to Ukraine, I got a big issue with you. But he's doing it continually, every time, and his job is to whip the votes for it, which means he's also whipping votes on the Democrat side. And then if I could go a step further, Tom Emmer's the reason we keep increasing the debt. What's so funny?
Sorry. Amy Stevens says, I just called Tushy and woke him up.
There you go. All right.
Taking
Did
a nap,
Tushy
I
really
suppose.
take a nap?
We're about to find out.
He is indeed on right now.
Okay.
Tushy, it was alleged that you were just awoken from a nap. Awakened from a nap? Is that
I was
correct?
not taking a nap with Amy Stevens, was I? No, I just heard what William read, but it is true. Amy Stevens said, "Hey, Tushy."
Do we
What's
have
going-
video of you, by the way? We can confirm you are no longer running for MNGOP chair because you have failed to submit to the NOMSCOM when they asked if you solicited prostitution. That's fake news.
Yeah.
I made that up. Just kidding. Do we have video of you or not?
He just got up.
Probably not, because I was just.
Oh, you
woken
really
up.
did just get up?
Yeah, for real. For real.
Oh my God! All right, so we'll keep this fake news that Paul Tushy is running for MNGOP chair. It's not accurate, even though your eyes are seeing it.
There are still, the rules have not even been adopted for the convention yet.
That's
so,
right.
Well, let's start with that. That's a great point. These conventions are for the delegates, right?
Yep.
Explain that.
Well, I mean, they put out the party put out proposed rules. The rules committee came up with a set of proposed convention rules for the meeting on Saturday. But I mean, even 2 years ago in December of 22, they had rules that said you had to get 30 signatures. There was only two people running for chair at the time, David Hann and Philip Parrish. And people desperately, they did not want David Hann, but Philip Parrish didn't have support. Like, he couldn't win. So people didn't like him. There was like very few delegates that supported him. So they were desperately trying to
And
find
he gave a horrible speech. It was boring. It was, nobody was paying
And
attention.
didn't he get in
to
like a car accident that morning?
Yeah,
too?
it looked like he wasn't in the right frame of mind.
Well, I would allege he's never in the right frame of mind, but it is.
Yeah,
what
well,
it
there
is.
was. I mean, it was even before the meeting happened. People knew it's like people did not want David Hann. They wanted an alternative, but they weren't ready to vote for Parrish. So, like, the whole meeting, the whole time, they were just like, we want. Anyway, we allowed nominations from the floor, and Jesse was there. We allowed nominations from the floor, and they said, well, we had to have people get 30 signatures. They said, well, if you want to run, then you got to have 30 people walk across the front of the room to let you have these for you. So, I mean, it's definitely anything can happen. But yeah, the body can do what they want. I mean,
Right, because the
tomorrow-
conventions are for the body of delegates, and they don't convene until a convention is actually taken place. And then these, like you said, they're not rules of the convention. They're proposed rules of convention. The body can then determine what rules will govern that convention. You and I know this very familiar. Like, I was just saying this in the pre-show. Yes, Brad Ganser, we did a pre-show. That we should write a book about all the things that had to happen for Nathan Wiesenberg to become a state senator. I mean, they did everything, including cheating on caucus night, to stop him from becoming one. But most infamously, there was a convention. This was the Morrison County Convention. That the chair of the convention that was selected by the party, Justin Crick, he wasn't even in the district. He comes over from CD8 to chair this convention. The body didn't want him as chair and voted to remove him, and he wouldn't accept it. He wouldn't step down. He wouldn't recognize people from the floor. And it's like, oh my God, this is the perfect example. By the way, we got videos of all this stuff. Like, the conventions are for the delegates. The delegates determine. It's almost like, what's the point of having a Congress if they just have to follow the dictates of the executive, a governor, or for the president when it comes to the federal government? What's the point in a Congress if they don't govern themselves? And so this is the thing that they do, is they have a strong hand, and they will try to get their will no matter what. They have no principles, by the way. They're chameleons, just like Tom Emmer. Tucci, as I understand it right now, and this maybe is just rumor, but you could probably confirm this, the candidates for chair, David Hann, big failure, right? Mike Murphy, mayor of Lexington, Minnesota. Bret Bussman, we know the story on that. And Alex Plekesh. My understanding is Plekesh and Mike Murphy are being found qualified with reservations. Am I accurate on that?
Well, that is the word on the street. That's what I mean. The nominations committee has met. I mean, they've met with every candidate, I think, except for Bussman, right? There's 4 candidates for chair, 3 for deputy, and 1 for secretary. So they've met with all the candidates except for Bussman, and that's what you said is what has been rumored to be the determination of the committee. I'm not sure if it's official yet, and so they'll put out when they release it, they'll release their findings. Maybe might be after they meet with Brett, right? That they will officially, and it might not be until Saturday is when they do their official report, but they would typically put it out days before. Like, say on Monday, they would say, here's the nominations. They would email to the delegates or something like that, offer the nom-com report so people could see officially. But what you're saying is what we've heard out of the nominations committee is that's what's probably going to happen.
What's the talk right now? If people are handicapping this thing, my sense is that, I have very little faith in the inner party workings, but I do believe David Hann could be vulnerable here. I mean, why else would they make these kind of moves? Stopping Bret Bussman, his process, stopping that. I guess Jennifer DeJarnett was just stripped from even being able to participate. Mm-hmm. And then, assuming that they qualify these people with reservations, that's kind of like a way to tell people, hey, these guys have a sketchy past, right? They have reservations. They could find them unqualified, but probably there's a higher bar for that. Of course, David Hann will be found qualified, right? No reservations on David Hann. He's lost all these elections, got rid of 200 delegates in Ottertail County, cut off access for endorsed candidates. No reservations on him. He'll be fully qualified.
Lawsuits against him and the party chair, right? So the party gets sued. I mean, just think about how many hundreds of thousands of dollars that he's already cost the party in lawsuits. And also, if he's not elected, if we jettison David Hann, if we as the Wi-Fi that we always see at all the meetings says, if we can the hand on Saturday, then David Hann's gonna have a lot of he'll be paying a lot of his own legal bills because he has all these lawsuits against him personally, But he's the chair of the party, and I mean, who pays his security? Who pays his legal bills? All these things. He's the chair, so the MNGOP is covering all this stuff. But David Hann is way too proud to, apologize to Larry Juice or whatever else he's got going. He's like, just get some. Everybody's getting sued left and right, and he's just running around like this. If he actually, I don't know, if somebody held him accountable, maybe he'd step up and just say, hey, let's make amends. Let's I don't know, come together a little bit as a party. But it's another failure of leadership, right? He won't come together with people. But yeah, he will be, of course, found qualified by the nominations committee. The guy that's like got all kinds of lawsuits against him in the party, but then yeah, it's very clear what that this nomcom is not even remotely legitimate, because like the nomcom it's like, well, let's look at these candidates, and then no matter who the candidate is, Bussman and Plekish are both like, they have a plenty of military service, and so like if anything is questionable in their backgrounds, it's like, okay, yeah, these two people with like a strong, solid military background, yeah, we're really concerned.
Well, Tucci, as we've learned from Pete Hegseth, you could serve 20 years in the military, but you could have a questionable background.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's true if somebody says these things happened while you were in the military or after, not like something before it was known about before. In other words, right? This was known. They knew about it 40 years ago, and then they still gave you all these clearances. It's different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is they're sitting, because and we weren't in the meeting, right? We weren't in the rules in the nominations committee meeting. But what I'm saying is there's like 17 people sitting around a table, I think a chair, and then 2 people from each congressional district. So my understanding is it's probably by Zoom or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't there, but there's 17 people on a Zoom call.
Did you sleep through that one too? We gotta go to some comments. Hold on, Tucci. We gotta go to some comments here.
Yeah, we got a couple here. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot says no rules exist until they are adopted, and that's an important reminder for those showing up on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Failed Candidate says, dumb that Murphy was qualified as a governor candidate, but not for chair.
Well, and Plekish was qualified for RNC committeeman, wasn't he? I wasn't at that state central committee, but if he was deemed qualified for RNC, I don't know how he could be deemed unqualified for chair. I mean, to me, he's just unqualified for either.
Well, he was
real quick, Paul, because I think you want to comment on this one. Mary K. 21 says, young Republicans endorsed Hann, Kip, and Joy.
Yep, they sure did. And the young Republicans are also hosting a breakfast of like, it's a $35 breakfast from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Saturday. So I don't know. I think they're probably serving cereal or something good for $35.
Well, yes, I'm aware. They sent out an email with everyone from State Central's email on the CC line.
Which I am very curious what kind of list agreement they had worked out with the party, because they clearly violated it doing that. Yeah, accidentally, obviously, but still violated it nonetheless.
TZ Bar says Kip has a Dewey, refuses a field sobriety test. Is that true?
What's that?
It says
Who said that?
Kip has a Dewey, refuses a field sobriety. TZ Bar, I don't know who these people are. You know, it's funny when I actually find out who the people are, they'll be like, text me or something like that. I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm Billy222, or I'm Bad at Harry. None of their names are those. It's so funny. Kip, last I knew, wants to come on the show on Tuesday. So
really,
I can ask him himself. We'll see if he does it.
Is we should, if he, that would be something to ask him about. If he does, I hope he does come out on Tuesday.
He was on by the way, he was on Jack Tomczak's show on I guess Saturday. Is that Jack's show? Saturday? Yeah, I think it's Saturday.
And, sorry, as long as we're getting into this, I think it's hilarious because he goes on Jack Tomczak's show, trashes the CD2 Republicans, but just a week prior, he showed up at our meeting and they asked the state central delegates there to vote for him.
So what was I didn't understand the background of the CD2 question. What's that in reference to?
What do you mean the CD2 question?
Well, wasn't that a question, or did he just bring that up? I'm already forgetting that, because there's other gems. Like, he ends that interview with Jack Tomczak basically admitting that Tom Emmer runs the GOP. That we already know that, by the way. Mm-hmm. And that it was Tom Emmer that actually got Trump to come into the state of Minnesota. Another thing that should be obvious to most people, but David Hann wants to take credit for it. David Hann didn't retire the debt of the Minnesota GOP. By the way, this is the thing that people forget. Under David Hann, the debt actually grew. He added hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt under the GOP. If it wasn't for Donald Trump coming into Minnesota last May And I know a lot of people that wouldn't want to give a dime to the Minnesota GOP, but they want to go see Trump when he came to St. Paul, and they did it. Probably some of them not knowing that they're actually helping David Hann out, and ends up retiring the debt. One visit by Donald Trump raises $1 million. That's the power of Donald Trump when it comes to, political operations.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Tucci.
Yeah, no, and I listened to that was yesterday. So you're correct. Saturday, and Saturday was yesterday. Yeah, that was yesterday when I was out and about. Somebody said, "Oh, Kip." I was like William said, we were on some kind of signal chat, and somebody said Kip's on the radio trashing CD2. I was like, what? So I tried to figure out how to get AM radio on my vehicle. Where's the AM? So I
thought your vehicle only played AM radio.
No, it's got a nice stereo in there. So,
okay.
Normally it's connected to a phone on Bluetooth and everything like this. But where's the AM on this damn thing? So I finally get the AM radio, and it's Jennifer DeJournette and Jack Tomzak and Kip's long gone. So then Donna Bergstrom was still on at that point, and then somebody late last night, I said, okay, I will check out what Kip said about CD2, and honestly, I was like, I didn't hear the trashing of CD2, and then it turns out it was that what they were referring to is that at the state convention, Kip said like that we didn't respect CD2 delegates didn't respect Tom Emmer. It's like or something from an article about that people booed Tom Emmer or something like this.
Yeah,
right?
yes,
yeah, right. But
I heard Kip say basically like slamming the people that booed Tom Emmer. The guy that's taking your money and giving it to Ukraine, the guy that's adding more debt, more of it to our national debt, over $36 trillion, the guy that's basically doing all the bad omnibus bills, breaking the promises of individual bills, that Tom Emmer, and we can't boo him? That neocon?
The guy that came into my congressional district, I've lived here for 20 years. In the 20 years that I lived here, and this district was created in 2002, basically, right? There was no CD2 that had even half of this area in it prior to 2002. 2002 redistricting is when the system was created. Otherwise, there's nothing even comparable to CD2 before that. It would have been like part of it, Carver County, part of it, all over the place. So 2002, this district was created. There was never a Republican lost this district by more than, but it was always Republican or within 6 points for 20 years that I've lived here, until Tom Emmer slammed some carpetbagger in here and he lost by 13.5 points. So that Tom Emmer, the one that screwed us over out of our, in our congressional district, that's that guy. Yeah. So we got
a break for a Rumble rant here real quick.
Yeah, we got a $5 Rumble rant from Amy Stevens, who says, Senator Wiesenberg had an awesome Trump rally that was the same day. He spent 6 weeks planning, but Emmer couldn't allow Trump to show up to talk to the people.
Well, the rally we were talking about Trump was in May. That one I think was that August? When was he in St. Cloud, Jesse? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
Yeah, these are two different rallies. July. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was pre-assassination. Yeah. There you go. Pre-assassination.
No, it was after the first. It was after the first assassination attempt.
Yeah, the assassination was in
because
July,
the
right?
security detail was insane there. So,
but hold on, the RNC was right after the assassination attempt.
Right, it wasn't his first things, since the assassination, but it was after.
Yeah, because J.D. Vance came and spoke pretty shortly after that.
J.D.
right?
Vance spoke at the same rally.
Or was it the same?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, they were the Republican nominees at that point.
You sure about this? You sure?
Yeah,
that
J.D.
Trump...
Vance spoke.
Yeah,
but you're sure that the Trump rally in St. Cloud was after the assassination attempt?
I'm 90% sure.
I can just look it up.
Yeah, we'll just Google it.
I'm totally sure because, like we were hardcore before Rahm suspended his campaign. Like the assassination attempt was the day that Rahm announced his campaign suspension.
Yeah.
So, and then it was like weeks after that the Trump Minnesota Trump rally.
Oh, okay. So the senior advisor to the Trump campaign, Rahm, actually got Trump in town, right?
That's right. Trump's senior advisor was there, and Joe Tayrab was there too, front row with Isaac Schultz and Royce White.
Yeah, July.
July? What was it, like late July then? It's got to be?
I can't find a date
The
for
assassination attempt was on the 13th, July 13th. Trump came to Minnesota late July.
Yeah, because RNC, I think, was the next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we didn't really... I do not tune into conventions, especially speeches, because why would you? It's boring crap. But I'm like, this is like the first speech Trump's had since the assassination attempt, so I really wanted to hear it. And then what does Trump do? Speaks for like an hour and 30 minutes. It's like, geez, that's the old man of Trump right
Well,
there.
when he's got people's attention, he's going to put it all
Oh,
out
but
there.
it was so bad. It was so bad, Jesse. It didn't matter. I mean, he won. But
An interesting thing. I was with a large group of Republicans that day, and we had finished 2 political events. We went to 2 different political events that day, and we were at like an after party at someone's home, and there was dozens of hardcore Republican activists there. And when Trump got to speak, this was with CD2. All these folks were like, "God help me, if he endorses Joe Tarab, I'm not putting up a Trump sign this year. If he endorses Joe Tarab, I don't even think I can vote for the guy." And so the whole time I'm sitting there like biting my tongue and just like, don't endorse Tarab, Trump, whatever people have told you. You know what I mean? He's like, so clearly this whole thing was not like Trump was unaware of this kind of stuff. Like, you got to be honest. Like,
of course.
the tweet comes out, "Hey, congratulations on Joe Tarab in defeating my senior advisor." You know, like, right? It's like he puts out a tweet. Congratulations, Tarab.
Hey, Paul, if I can interrupt you for a second. Someone in my CD2 group chat just tagged me. It was July 27th.
that he came to
St. Cloud. Yep.
Oh, good.
So wouldn't that be after the assassination attempt?
Way after, yeah.
Okay.
That's after the RNC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. But before the second assassination attempt, yeah, that's the political calendar this year. There's the funniest meme I saw was, you know that calm face guy meme, and it says January 2024. It's got calm face guy just going, and then it's got in the middle like a screaming devil going ah, and then that's December 2024. It's calm guy meme again. Have you seen that one?
No, I'm just
Tweet it out.
laughing at your
It's so good.
description of it.
What's that?
I'm just laughing at your description.
That's our
I have
language.
no idea what you're talking
That's
about.
our language today, is meme talk, right?
Oh,
That's
my
all it
goodness.
is.
Do you know what Mimi's talking about, Dawson?
I have absolutely no idea, and usually I'm pretty literate in memes. So
Really, you guys don't know what I'm talking about? I can
calm
find it.
face guy.
Calm guy meme isn't an amazing descriptor.
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. See, I can see it. I don't know why you guys can't see it. I'm gonna find it here real quick. Go ahead, Tucci.
Well, yeah, we were talking about the heavy-handed non-com stuff. And I'm sure this will be back this week. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about this more on Tuesday and whatever. But think about 17 people on a Zoom call or whatever, right? You got a chair and you got 2 people from CD1, 2 people from CD2, and they'll say, well, let's consider these candidates. Mike Murphy, it's like, well, this guy, let's see, he's been served several terms as mayor or city councilman. He owns a business, owns like legit businesses like a UPS store and stuff, right? He was qualified with without reservations to be governor. The non-com found him qualified to be governor, did his whole background check, and so he's like, well, he's never been a BPOU secretary or chair before. How could he be qualified to run the party if he's never even been a BPOU officer? Okay, that's one reservation. Everybody else got reservations. It's like that. No, that's legitimately what this is like. Like,
I just want someone to be unqualified because of the prostitution question. Let's really mix things up. Let's make it interesting. Have you ever solicited a prostitute before? The person had the wrong answer and they're unqualified. All right, go pull up the meme, Dawson. This is what I was referring to. Did I not explain that well enough?
No.
That does not look like a calm face.
He's not
I
calm.
kind of
This
thought
is-
that's where you were going.
This wouldn't be calm. This is considered the double take meme
Double take?
because he blinks in the middle and it's like
Yeah, I know. I guess it's kind of missing, so it's like, well, you
But back
at least
to the,
describe the totality of the meme well, right? Was that
yeah,
not
I know what you're
2024?
talking about now.
That was
Yeah.
2024. Looks
we
like
might
it was-
have some post-show gossip. Is there a post-show
we don't have
tonight?
post show. No, we'll save it for. By the way, actually we could do a post show, can't we?
there's nothing stopping us. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're gonna do post show. By the way, for people that don't know, if you, what is Amy Steve? Nice try. What did I do? I don't get it. Meme talk. For those that are supporters of the show, $8 a month or $88, we give you a month off for a year. You can go to truthhurtsnews.com, click on the top, support. You get a free locals account, and you get to be part of our post show. That's where we get some good, juicy gossip. It looks like Tushy's got something for us today. Other way to get there is just on the top of Rumble. You hit join. But become one of our premium subscribers. It's the best way to support the show. Otherwise, we have great sponsors here today. By the way, before I forget again, we are giving away front row seats to Jordan Peterson when he comes to St. Paul, Minnesota. You can go to truthhurtsnews.com/JBP, as in Jordan B. Peterson, and you can win those tickets. I love those tickets. Oh, Frosty Girls heading to the locals. We're not going there just yet because I want to get from you, Tushy, before the juicy gossip we'll do in the post show. What I want to know, Tushy, is who are the candidates running for deputy chair and what are the dynamics there? Because we had talked about Donna Bergstrom going on Jack's show. It sounds like there's some heat. There's some heat going on right now between her and David Hann because David Hann essentially endorsed Kip Christensen. What do we know about this?
Well, yeah, well, it depends who you ask, I think, because there's supposedly, some people have talked with Donna, and I intended to speak with her today, and I didn't. In fact, I fell asleep before the show. So,
Yes, we're aware.
I would have liked to have, had spoken with her prior to the show, but yeah, like, I would talk to her personally. So, but point is, like, they people say, oh well, David Hann really did this bad thing, and David Hann did this, like, to Donna personally, or she was given this responsibility but not given the tools to do it, or she all these bad things, and they say, well, why haven't you said one word about it to the right into to the people, right? And it's like that's what I'm waiting for, and I've told that's what I intended to tell Donna when I spoke with her today. It's like, and when I speak with her, that's what I'm gonna tell her. It's like there's all these things that we know what a lot of them are, because I've talked with Donna in the past, like over years time, in 2022 when Natalie Barnes
Is it just Donna versus Kip, or is there other people in this race? Because I think I just learned that Joy Orvis is the only one running for secretary.
Correct. There is a third person for deputy chair. It's Fred Hagee or Haig. I don't know.
What do you know about him, Jesse?
Cass County BPOU. I would say Fred Hage. I don't know I don't know how to say his last name other than that, but he for long-time BPOU chair. He's in CD8. I don't know. I wouldn't want to speak too much about him. I mean, I think he is, for my interactions with him, he seems like a genuine person.
Why don't you read the Jay Courier comment here? Posted. Hold on one second, Tushy.
Jay Courier says YRs and CRs are all about political jobs.
Hold on. Young Republicans and then college Republicans. Yeah. Because I just assume there are people on our show that are maybe new to politics here.
Are all about political job seeking. Hann running with Kip so that he can keep his job for now and promote the establishment's chosen successor.
So it seems to me, and if Kip does show up on Tuesday, which he said he is, although it was really bizarre because he said, I'll be there with Walter. It's like, Walter wasn't invited on the show. That was a bizarre thing. But if he shows up, I guess we could ask him this stuff, but it seems like he is the establishment's choice. The word on the street was he was going to run against David Hann for chair. And all of a sudden, and this is rumor, and maybe you know about this, Tushy, that there was some deal to keep Hann in place for now. And as long as he embraces Kip for deputy chair, then Walter's going to – I mean, it actually makes a lot of sense when you see how the whole thing played out, but that Walter would then drop out, and then you'd have this joint – a unity ticket right there. That's a unity ticket. And so those two would run together. And literally David Hann endorsed Kip. And kind of, at least in terms of what I heard on Jack's show from Donna, not that I'm a big fan of Donna because I think she's weak and doesn't stand up to Hann, but basically caught her blindsided on this thing. What do I got wrong in this, Tushy? Is this what you're hearing?
I mean, I have heard all of those things a lot, and it's probably likely true, but I haven't confirmed with any of the people, but like any of the first parties, right? But yeah, that's I've heard all the same things. Well, if you look at like the messaging for Kip and Walter when Walter was running for deputy chair and Joy Orvis. All three of them had the same messaging. Even Walter's endorsement of Kip that came out like the day that Kip announced for deputy chair it read exactly like, I'm Walter Hudson, I'm running for deputy chair, I'm endorsing Kip for chair, and we're a team and we're a unity ticket. Like, that's the way it read, like slightly altered because there was a change in plans, But the slogans and everything, they were all running with the same slogans, the same stuff. It was clearly to me, the evidence is very clear that this was the plan, to have a unity slate of these three. But and again, like I said, I haven't talked to anybody about this, but that I think David Hann wouldn't. What appears to me is that David Hann wouldn't bow out, which I could see for any number of reasons. Number one, he doesn't want to lose that sweet 6-figure salary for doing much. Really, I don't know. Despite what I heard on the radio yesterday about David Hann's fundraising prowess or whatever, it's like David Hann hasn't done anything to earn a 6-figure salary. I mean, it's like not that it's that much these days.
Oh no, I think quite the contrary, because when you look at, I think David Hann deserves that, because when you look at the people that donated the party, if you take out the people that gave because they want to see Donald Trump, you take them out of it, it's big money establishment Republicans, big donors, right, and lobbyists and stuff like that, and for that, David Hann's doing a good job. He's keeping the grassroots at bay. David Hann did a very good job removing 200 duly elected delegates from Ottertail County. He did a good job going after the Action for Liberty people. He does a good job not helping endorsed candidates win. So David Hann is actually doing a lot to earn that money. You just have to understand that the party has been basically bought by, well, let's be honest, the Tom Emmer Club, right? The donors around Tom Emmer. And let's not forget who Tom Emmer is. He's a neocon rhino globalist, a guy that is voting to give your money to Ukraine, and a quagmire, by the way. There's no chance Ukraine's winning that war. Actually, there is a chance. There is a chance for Ukraine to win that war. You know what it is? American soldiers going over there and fighting that battle. Is that what Tom Emmer supports? Probably. Really, when it comes down to it. But Tom Emmer sending your money over to Ukraine, to that quagmire. Tom Emmer that's voting for increasing the debt ceiling and voting for deficits. And that's why we're at $36 trillion. That Tom Emmer, that's the guy that David Hann's doing a very good job representing.
Is that the same guy that once endorsed Paul Tucci for...
That is the same guy that endorsed Paul Tucci, and because we got a new audience on Twitter, now is a great time for me to pull up the great video, and then what we'll do is... What's so funny? I don't get what's so funny, Tucci. It's a real video. This isn't AI. What's so funny?
By the way, that clip, this 1 hour and 15 minutes into the show, man, that was a great little 1 minute clip. If we want to clip something, so I'd say David Hann's earning his salary, and that's a wonderful point. That's a very, very good and succinct point.
Well, you know what they say, William. That's the only kind of points I make.
Oh, this is true.
It's been so long. Long. Dawson, pull up the C3. I missed you, man. I've missed you.
No,
like that would have just got you cracking up. What's it been, like a year now? You growing up and working full time. Don't even come see us much. You still have an office here. You know that? You're still in office.
Oh, are you talking about me?
Jake sounds like my freaking mom. You never
well,
home.
It's like,
your room is still
gotta
made
look out for you guys.
Is the
Well,
office
it's like, you listen to me? Yeah. Yeah. William, trying to have a heart-to-heart here, connect with you. The people love you. Listen, they miss you. The blonde Matt Walsh, we miss you.
Well, I miss you guys too.
Oh, thank you. And you're confirmed for the final show of the year too, right? Is that right? Or is it another Sunday?
The 29th, is that it?
That's what we're planning, yeah.
Okay. Could be fun to do a New Year's show.
Yeah,
I don't have any plans.
I don't know. Kind of got hosting duties on those days.
Ooh,
all right, before we go to the post show, I want to bring this up. This is Tom Emmer is getting a lot of things wrong. One thing he's not getting wrong is who to use for your roofing, right? Was it a roofing company? What was it one? But he also knows how to pick his candidates for Minnesota House in 2012. Go ahead and play this.
This is Tom Emmer. I'm here to support the conservative choice for the Minnesota House of Representatives in this district. It's Paul Tushy. He's running against a guy who's been in office for the last 10 years. Joe Atkins voted in favor of growing government. Paul Tushy, he believes that you can't grow government any longer at the expense of the citizens that it's supposed to be serving. If you live in Northern Egan, Inver Grove Heights, Mendota Heights, or Sunfish Lake, vote for Paul Tushy on November 6th. Thanks.
I'm Paul Tushy, and I approve this
You know what
message.
the best thing about that commercial is? I'm in it too. You just don't see it because it's got this like blended background with the parade, and I'm the guy holding up here's Paul Tushy. You know, I marched the whole parade with. Oh man, we had so much fun, Tushy. Those were the days right there. Let's stick around for the post show. If you want to be, if you're not a premium subscriber yet, you can go to truthhurtsnews.com, click on support us. You get a free locals account, $8 a month. That's so great. It helps out tremendously what we're doing here with New Media. Also, we couldn't do it without our great sponsors today. Williams Realtor, and my realtor, by the way. That's actually how I know he's a good realtor. It's not just like I'm reading a script. He's a good realtor. That's what it says here. No, Warren actually. Have I ever told you a story? What he did? I'll tell you.
You did, but you should. Okay, yeah.
It's
tell him
a good
show.
story, but he saved my butt. That's what you want. A guy that saves your butt. But you also want it going to a guy that's a good patriot. Go give Warren a call if you're looking to buy a home or sell a home. Go to 612-419-7453. What does that look for? I got it, didn't it?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, I got the number right.
Well, was it 612 or is it?
If you're buying, there you go. See, 612-419-7453. Also sings my church choir. That's a little side note. If you're buying a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company a chance at financing the home. People that think like you and me, and you win, and you finance. They didn't exist the last time I had bought a home. But JohnGaltMortgage.com, those guys are killing it. And also thank you to Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. We're going to be live on our post show in a couple minutes.
We don't want to do a couple comments before we leave, do we?
We didn't miss any Rumble rants, did we?
We didn't miss any rants.
Well, if we'll do comments in the post show, so
Got it.
that's more incentive for you to join us in the post show, and we'll have William for the post show. Thank you to everyone that tuned in, and by the way, to the new Twitter audience. I don't know if that got us some new people or not. I would imagine being on a new platform, maybe we'll do Twitter more often. Why not? Let's do it. You know, it's actually better than Facebook. Facebook's dying. You know, and I'm not gonna do TikTok, so we're gonna do Twitter. There you go. Join us in the post show. To everyone else, we'll be back here live Tuesday at 1:00. Take care.